morning, and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. Much like the Prey review became a conduit to talk about other things, I feel like this review is also going to become a conduit to talk about other things after I watched it last night. I'm talking about I Am Groot, which is the second Marvel animation project. And first and foremost, number one, each one is like 6 minutes long when you look at the description, but in reality it's more like 2 minutes long, maybe 3 if you don't count the Marvel Studios logo in the beginning. Now, it's an interesting idea to have 5 little shorts about Groot, and Groot doing things. So, like, there's one that's like Groot takes his first steps, and it's about Groot in the little pot at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy, getting out of the little pot. There's one where he finds this little civilization, and he feeds them a leaf, and and they love him, and then he accidentally steps on them, and there's one where he has to take a bath, and his plants grow in different ways, or his flowers, his leaves grow in different ways, and makes different outfits, and there's one where he tries to draw a picture, and there is, rockets in it, and they're short. They're shorts. That's what they're designed to be. Now, number one, Disney Plus should have put these all into one series, instead of doing the, and they did this with that stupid Forky show too, for Toy Story 4, where it's like Forky's what is whatever, where Forky asks questions about things, he's trying to figure out the world. But, like, instead of putting it into, like, a season 1 and then, like, here's all the episodes, like they did with the Spark shorts, this is just, they're all loose. So you gotta go to, like, I found the easiest way to find them was to go to the timeline of MCU stuff, and then they're all there. Because, like, one of them takes place at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy, the other 4 take place at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So they're all there, it's just, there. I think that the other, like, when someone watches this, if they're like me, they are going to question, why was this not released in theaters? Now, I'm not saying you should have done one giant mega anthology for like a half hour of these. I'm saying that in a world where I forgot which movie I saw, it came with a Simpsons parody of Star Wars, with Maggie. And I don't remember which Star Wars Simpsons parody it was, but that ran before the movie, because reasons. And it was weird, because it was a Disney animation or a Pixar movie, and you'd be like, oh, that's not Disney animation or Pixar, that's The Simpsons. That's a very different target audience. Maybe it was Onward? I want to say it was Onward. But either way, regardless, that ran before it. Like, I'm watching these and I'm like, these are cute little shorts. They're like 3 minutes long that you would think they would run before Lightyear. Or maybe Strange... Like, Lightyear didn't have a short accompanying it. Like, Encanto did have a short accompanying it. But, like, these would be more entertaining than the fucking post-credit scenes that we've had for a good amount of these movies. Like, I'd rather would have watched, what's it called? I'd rather would have watched this at the end of, one of these at the end of, Multiverse of Madness, instead of the stupid one with Bruce Campbell, if you didn't see it all the way through the credits. I think Thor had a second one that was pretty weak too. But like these little vignettes would be better uses of people's time, or run them before the movies. Like, had they run one of these before each of the Phase 4 movies, and been like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 coming in May of 2023, that would have done a lot more to keep it in people's minds. Or at least if they did it where one of these runs before, like, the way I would have done a theatrical release schedule for this is I would have had the last one, the one with Rocket and you can see Drax's shadow. I would have had that one run, what's it called? I would have had that one run up until, like, that would have been the one before Quantumania. And then after that, we get a bunch of, maybe I would have skipped Black Panther because Black Panther seems weightier, but, like, definitely would have put one before Multiverse of Madness. Definitely would have put one before Love and Thunder. It's like things like that would have been a better use for the shorts, I think, than doing it as one giant, dump on Disney Plus. Where, like, here they are, they're done. Like, it feels like someone finished an assignment that they were given. They were like, here, have fun, go nuts. This is what you wanted, right? And it's like, well, I mean, kind of, but I think we would have rather seen these as in theaters. The other thing I want to address is that this is animation. This is considered animation, and rightfully so. It's a fully CG environment with a fully CG character, and any other characters who are in the show, it's mostly Groot, but there are some robots. There is Rocket in one episode, even though there is the shadow of Drax in that same, episode. But in this world where this is animation, I don't want to be that guy. But if this is considered animation, then The Lion King is definitely animation. The Lion King from back in 2019, the quote-unquote live-action one, where it's like, no, it's not live-action, because they didn't use real lions. There wasn't a real lion that they trained to sing and dance. It's CGI. Sorry to shatter the illusion on you, but that is, reality of the situation. When you watch this thing, that's the thing you gotta keep aware of. And I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, I think it's totally right to call this animation, even though it looks like, and I could be wrong, it looks like they just shot extra stuff while they were shooting Guardians of the Galaxy, or Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Where it's like, okay, we have everything set up, we have the sets, we have we have everything set and ready to go. Let's just shoot some extra Groot stuff and release some of these shorts, which is fine, and I totally understand that. But my thing is, why is it that, like, what's the point for here? Why is it that, this is easily considered animation, and I think most people who watch it would consider it animation, and I think it has something to do with the Marvel logo that runs before it, because Marvel Studios does have that animation logo where it's like, it's the regular Marvel Studios logo, although here it's fast-forwarded by Groot. And then when it's done, you get the, there's like paint swatches go over it, and then it becomes, like, drawn. But when you watch it, it's like, it's not you can't differentiate it from the CG that's used in, say, what's it called, in Guardians of the Galaxy, or in, what's the other one? Thor: Love and Thunder. And when you watch this movie and you see that, you're like, well, whatever, I guess. Like, it's just a weird thing that, like, maybe if people acknowledge this is animation, maybe people start acknowledging that The Lion King is animation. But on the topic of distribution, I think that what we're seeing is this weird situation where Disney and Warner Brothers are on polar opposite sides of the debate of how much money should go into streaming. Because this is now the third thing this year that I'm like, there's definitely a theatrical avenue for this that would make sense. Now, Marvel has made shorts before. Marvel has, because they made, All Hail the King, The Consultant, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Thor's Hammer, all of these kind of things, like, these are all pretty straightforward, like, comedy, like, all comedic takes on the characters. Like, All Hail the King, while now canon, because of Shang-Chi, or they were all canon, but it's like, really canon. Like, it was more of a comedic take on explaining more of who Trevor is. And when we look at what this whole show, you can honk all you want, this traffic. I have nowhere to go. And those weren't released theatrically, but they were released as special features on the DVDs for late phase 1 into phase 2. And this is the kind of thing where I could see this running before other movies in theaters. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers definitely could have run in theaters, and probably would have made a pretty good amount of money in theaters too. Prey probably would have done well in theaters. That's a pretty solid movie on a pretty low budget, and all of that. And I think that what this weird situation we're in right now is this idea of low budget filmmaking as streaming exclusive and not theatrical exclusive, with the exception of Warner Brothers, who has Joker 2 coming, which is probably going to be another cheap movie, in the same way Joker costs like, what, $50 million, $20 million, something like that. Maybe more expensive because now you have some choreographers, so it's a fucking musical, but I say I would have loved for them to have not announced that in advance. I would have loved for them to have just been like, hey, Joker 2, and here's Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn, and, all of that kind of stuff. Have fun, come and see the movie, it'll be great. And trailers don't indicate that it's a musical, and there's no indication that it's going to be a musical. You show up to see the movie, and it's a fucking musical. That would have been fantastic. Would have been absolutely fantastic. Now, back on topic, on the other side of the fence, Warner Brothers is, Warner Brothers is taking their and Disney has put a lot of money into their streaming stuff, like WandaVision and Hawkeye and all these shows have the budgets of Marvel Studios movies. They're not, they're not cheap endeavors, and neither is The Mandalorian, neither was Book of Boba Fett, neither was Kenobi. All of those things are not exactly cheap, and they're putting a lot of money into this, and that lot of money is, somewhat paying off. Now, on the other side, Warner Brothers started to do the same thing with HBO Max. They started putting a lot of money into HBO Max properties, but the problem was someone higher up at HBO Max, now we have Zaslav, he's not happy with this amount of money being spent, because I think it's this idea that, I think when you look at what Warner Brothers has done and how it works, I think he's looking at it and being like, well, we're not getting in money from theatrical. I would rather get the money in from theatrical than get it in from streaming, which is a weird kind of way to parse out what you want to do, instead of being like, look, money is money, I don't care where it comes from. And they're not putting the same budgets into things. So, even Batgirl getting $100 million, that's not a bad budget for the movie. And the thing is, too, how much money do you need to make Batgirl a spectacle? And I realized the budget was only $75 million to begin with, and I realized $75 million on a Wonder Twins movie is also obscene. I feel like if we're going to address this issue, Disney needs to not just put stuff on streaming for the sake of putting it on streaming. There's no reason why these movies, when these properties are going to streaming, be it I Am Groot, not serving as marketing material in a more concrete way to Guardians 3, because ultimately that's what these are, is they're marketing for Guardians 3. And you can put them out before Marvel movies. You can put them out before Pixar movies. Hell, you can put them out before any Disney movie that's coming out. Maybe not National Geographic movies, but basically any movie that's, family-oriented, you can throw I Am Groot, one of the I Am Groot shorts in front of, and get a lot of eyes on it to let people know, people who don't read the trades, people who don't listen to podcasts, people who don't, listen to whatever nonsense they're listening to, you can get through to all of them that, look, there is a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 coming, and when this Guardians of the Galaxy 3 does come, this is when it will be. You can get that out in front of people way early with this. And I'm not saying that's the only reason to do it. I mean, you can do it purely for the entertainment value, because they are entertaining shorts. It's just, to sit here and watch them and be like, all right, well, how can I legitimately criticize them because they're shorts? It's like, all right, are they entertaining? Like, and the thing is, too, they run for a lot. Like, when you pick it up and it's like 6 minutes, okay, that's not bad. It's really more like 5 minutes. It is, it's just one of those things that, like, I understand the general thought process behind putting it to streaming. It's just I don't think the execution is the best method. I also don't think that they should have done what they did here, which was dump them out as 5 different projects instead of one giant I Am Groot project, and then called it a day. Where it's like, it feels a little bit like this is not the most important thing they did. And to be honest, it's not. It doesn't have massive canon implications. It's not like, this is going to come into play in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or any other movie ever, probably. Nothing here is, like the dance-off one, I think, is the only thing that could have something that comes back with the, with the liquidy version of Groot. But, and that felt weird, too. Even that episode felt weird, because it felt like they weren't putting the full budget into these things. Because, like, look, there is licensed music in one episode. There's licensed music in the episode with Rocket. But the problem is, the dance-off episode, there isn't licensed music. Which feels weird for a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, or a Guardians of the Galaxy property at this point, because that's what we're accustomed to. Especially if we're going to do a dance-off. Like, you can do generic music, but I feel like it works better with the, what's it called? With the other thing. And they're entertaining and they're short. So, go ahead and watch them. Have fun. They're not awful. I just wish that they had been used better than dumped out on Disney Plus, and that if they were going to just dump them out on Disney Plus, they organize them a little bit better in a way that, they're not kind of an afterthought, for lack of a better word. Where it's like, oh crap, we finished this, what are we going to do? Like, it feels like, we finished this project, let's just get it out, because we don't know what to do with it, and it's not going to make money. Like, it feels like that kind of thing, where it's like, let's just get this out, someone will watch it, dump it on the streamer, and they didn't put too much thought into it, when they could have done more with it. And I think just like Warner Brothers is currently reevaluating its strategy on streaming, I think Disney does too, because I think too much is going to streaming over theatrical, and I think what is going to theatrical in the selected choices, in a lot of cases, is not working well. Because, like, look at, like, Turning Red versus Lightyear, and when you look at the Oscar rankings, for this year, like, Lightyear is in contention for, according to Variety, they have Lightyear ranked in the top 5, which means it would be nominated, and I don't think, and Turning Red is outside, looking in. I think, if we're going to look at it that way, and if that's accurate, and that's what we're doing, I think that the bigger question we have is, how much did Disney hurt Turning Red? Because I think Turning Red's a solid contender for Best Animated Feature, depending on what else comes out. I haven't watched Luck yet, which is Lasseter's new movie over at Apple TV Plus, but looking at that, and looking at what's going on here, I don't think that there's a situation in which you can argue that, like, if I'm someone who works at Pixar and I see this and I'm like, no. I mean, Turning Red is a substantially better movie than Lightyear, but Lightyear is the one that's in contention for the Academy Award. Why is that? Lightyear came out in theaters. Turning Red did come out in theaters in a limited streaming capacity. Like, if you went to, like, a major city, you could probably see it in a theater. Like, there's an AMC in Times Square that has 25 screens that was showing Turning Red. But if the case is that you have to be in one of these places, I feel like that's harming its chances, because most people associate it with Disney Plus, especially considering Disney pulled it at the last second and threw it to streaming. So look, if I'm one of the people, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to work there. Like, say what you will about The Bad Guys, which was DreamWorks' big movie earlier this year. They didn't pull the movie for streaming, no matter how shitty it was. I don't know how good it was. I didn't watch it. I don't want to say it's shitty. It looked pretty funny, actually. But it's on Peacock now. I might watch it. But you get what I'm saying. Whereas, like, no matter what the quality was, they put it out in theaters because they committed to putting it out in theaters. Disney cannot say the same. But we will wrap up there for today. And we'll be back with more news, more information, more everything as it happens. So until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.